It's so great to see you, sir, in person. His new comedy special, Comedy Monster, is available now on Netflix. The fun tour dates. You can see him all throughout February and March and more. You can go to jimgaffigan.com for that. The great Jim Gaffigan.
Thanks for having
Good
me.
to see you, man.
Thanks for having me. It's very exciting to be here. It's fun to hear some of this talk.
Which talk are you referring to?
Just the whole the MVP, the NFL stuff.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I'm from Indiana, so it's like I'm a Colts fan. So it's been a brutal couple weeks.
Well, they went from the team nobody wanted to face in the playoffs to a team nobody is seeing in the playoffs in 2 weeks, in just a 2-game span.
It's just
like that.
A collapse, and it's almost like no one, like the collapse is so pronounced, no one's even pointing fingers. They're like, I don't even know who to blame. Like, we're still in shock. It's like it's nobody's fault. It's like we had a good week in practice. It's just like, and there's a civility. I always think the Colts organization, like, of course, Irsay was like, it was my fault. And you're like, I don't know if it was your fault. I don't know. I don't think the owner should be blamed for like massive talent kind of not coming together.
Right.
But it's like peaking, right? Because Aaron Rodgers had the worst game of his career, the first game.
Yep.
And then now he's perfect.
It's really unbelievable how, and then just, of course, all of us in my world of industry where, you have to have a take week to week. After that first week, it's like, well, I don't know if Rodgers has his teammates all together, is off season. Does he really even care? Does he even want to be there? And now we have our answer,
It's like the calmness that people like him and Brady have. And obviously they're passionate.
Yes.
But the calmness it's inhuman. It's inhuman. Like, well, I mean, because we've seen Rodgers, hey, settle down. And we're all like, ha, ha, ha. And he's like, yeah, After the offseason, he's like, it's going to be fine. It's like he's the best dad ever. He's the calm dad.
Right?
He's the calm dad.
He's not going to overreact or anything
He's like,
that.
We'll figure this out. The car ran out of gas, but we'll get gas. It's just like unbelievable.
Especially, I thought when you said calm, I just thought he and Brady in the face of people trying to tear his head off too. You know what I mean? And then just be able to play the way that they are.
I mean, just Brady navigating the Antonio Brown thing is pretty amazing.
Have you ever seen anything? Has anybody ever done that in your profession? Just strip down and then just quit? Has that ever happened?
No,
on a stage where
look,
I mean, Bert
comedians
takes his shirt off. That's
true.
close.
Bert Kreischer is that as close to Antonio Brown as anything? Bert Kreischer?
I think most comedians are a little bit like Antonio Brown. Like if he decided he wanted to be a comedian, no one would be surprised. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, okay. So comedians are an eccentric, strange bunch. Yes. We go on stage and seek approval from strangers. You can't say that's normal. So it's like,
it's an interesting way of putting it, and also trying to figure out what they want to hear in real time as well.
But the drama, it's like the drama that's occurred this season.
Yes.
It is our Real Housewives, right? That's what it is.
It is a reality show, yes, sir. I agree with you. It's a narrative-generating machine, the NFL, week to week, where you just never know. And that's why the playoffs are so great, because it's been a year of week-to-week narratives built up to win or lose games. And it's going to affect everything. The whole thing of like Rodgers is so happy in Green Bay right now, and you hear in his voice how well he's getting along with the guy who he apparently spent months despising.
Now.
Right, exactly, right. And then if he gets one and done in the playoffs, then what? You know what I mean?
Which has happened.
It could, yeah.
Like that week off. It's so weird. You think of like the week off could be bad.
Right.
I mean, it's momentum, but like I do like a podcast and I'm exhausted. I talk to a friend for an hour. I got to take a nap. It's like these guys these are the best athletes in the world. They take a week off and they're like, I forgot how to do this. Like it's weird, but then again, it also helps, and they're getting that offensive tackle back, which is huge.
That's right. And then a couple of their defenders, they're one of those rare one seeds that's getting healthy as things move on. I've got Jim Gaffigan here on the Rich Eisen Show, the new comedy special, Comedy Monster, available right now on Netflix. How have you been, doing comedy in the middle of all this stuff,
It's
man?
pretty weird. It's you travel around and in LA, New York, it's a different vibe. You go into red states and it's like I'm the only one with a mask on. I look like a hypochondriac. I'm wearing a mask and everyone's like, what is he doing?
Mm-hmm.
But it's strange, it's like there's different statuses at different venues. You don't want to perform for people that have their mouth covered typically, but I'm grateful to be out there. It's weird, it's very confusing. I mean, my parents haven't been vaccinated, which is weird. I mean, they've been dead for a couple decades, but but still, they have
I was waiting.
They have grandchildren. You know what I mean?
Dude.
I don't know if
I didn't see
anyone's
that one coming. That was a wind up. I didn't see the pitch. I didn't see that pitch coming.
It's weird. Like anyone who's lost a parent, there is this period where you're like, I can't even talk about it. Don't even bring it up. Someone's like, hey, your mom was a great lady. You're like, thanks. I'm gonna go in the other room and cry. And then you get to a point where you still feel the pain, but you eventually are like, all right, we gotta move on. My parents died and Rich Eisen killed him. Yeah.
I didn't see that one coming either. I didn't think I'd be the punchline on that one. But
Well, thank you. Now, did you watch Comedy Monster on Netflix? You should have watched.
Yeah, of course.
There's so much stuff to watch, so I appreciate if people are like, there's like a new show every week.
I cannot watch anything that's kind of overly serious or apocalyptic or dystopian. I want to laugh, man.
Yeah.
I literally want to sit down, forget about everything, and just laugh. And that's what you're doing. You know what I mean? That I'm into that.
Yeah.
Big time. So, and again, that's available now on Netflix. I got to bring this up. Put up the photograph if you don't mind. On Jeff Garlin put this one out the other day.
Yeah,
that's you right in the middle behind Rickles. And I'll describe Garland. He's got Jack Black in a headlock.
Yeah.
That's Queen Latifah, John Stamos, John Mayer, and then to your right is the great Bob Saget. What was this night, man? What's going on?
This Bob Saget had. I mean, it's like, how is somebody? I mean, obviously, we've all heard, and people know you interact with Bob Saget, and you're like, is this guy for real, or is he kind of conning me, or is he was that level of, he could pull in Queen Latifah and John Mayer for a benefit.
This was a scleroderma research foundation,
and he would
benefit.
do it once in New York and once in LA, and he would. There was just it was in the entertainment industry. I feel like you run into these people where you're like, oh, this is how we should aspire to treat each other. He was not somebody who was caught up in hierarchy. He was, Full House was a silly show. He was not caught in the web of that, of being a former star of a sitcom. He was, his soul was that of a comedian. And so, that comedian family is very about authenticity, and he kept searching and trying to find more authenticity. But his kindness would melt anyone. Do you know what I mean? You'd be like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do here. And people would, Queen Latifah showing up for a benefit. It's like these benefits in LA and New York are constant. And he has Don Rickles showing up to it. And that's the type of person he was. You're like, all right, I want to do something nice for him.
So he'd call you up and say, hey, can we do a set
he was
tonight? Is that what it is?
Fly to LA. And I'm like, all right. But he would also have done 15 things for you where, if something bad happened, he'd be the person to text you. It's I think he spent 2 hours a day sending nice messages to people. It was pretty amazing.
And that looks like a blast of a night.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. I mean, just Rickles.
What was he? What was
he was just sitting in a chair. He was pretty up there, so he was sitting in a chair. They brought a microphone to him, and he just tore into everyone. And it's a unique skill to be able to take a knife out and cut everyone's Achilles tendon out, and just they love you. And so that was pretty amazing. And then I mean, it's weird. Like John, you know that he's buddies with John Stamos, but like Jimmy Kimmel's showing up. Jimmy Kimmel. I remember I sat next to Jimmy Kimmel, and there was an auction, and Jimmy Kimmel bought like some trip to Vegas, which we know is where Jimmy Kimmel's from.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, just I got to do it for Bob. So he bought this trip for like $50,000. He's not going to use it. It's amazing. But it was a good, like when you were in high school and you had these senior, these upperclassmen where you're like, you know what, I want to behave like that. That's what Saget was like. You're like, you know what, I want to be like that type of guy who does favors, helps people out, is always kind of like a positive influence.
Sweetheart of a guy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would give away like NFL Network tours to that event too, and he would be the one calling up to say, what's your email? I'll hook you up. Like, and he's the one doing it. I'm like, Bob, like what, how do you handle all of this?
Yeah. And again, it's like a level of commitment, and he loved stand up. And that's, the weird thing. I think people think that comedians are competitive and don't get along, when the reality is that we're so eccentric, and that same kind of there's a fraternal nature to it. So there is doesn't matter what type of comedy you do, there's a mutual respect. So,
and that's Jim Gaffigan here on the Rich Eisen Show. The fun tour dates coming up. You're going all over the place, man. Lafayette, Louisiana on the 4th, Beaver Creek, Colorado on the 16th. Are you going to be here in town for the Super Bowl, or are you going to, because that's coming?
I don't know. I miss those, the here
in LA.
Sometimes when the Colts would be, I would entertain the
owners, right? Didn't you do one of those things?
I performed for the owners, and I remember I didn't realize Jerry Jones was that tall, and also I don't know her name, Miss Mara. Just like her hair, just bombing in front of billionaires is just.
You didn't bomb.
I mean, it was it's an interesting group.
Well, hold on a second. Did you roast them, Jim Gaffigan?
No, that's kind of not my way.
I know that.
I should have, but like it's also. There's different, like there's wealthy people, and then there's NFL owner wealthy. Like, do you know what I mean? Like these people, they're not, I got to go to the grocery store. They're not going to the grocery store. They don't, do you know what I mean? They're like, I don't even know what he would be. Like, they don't go on vacation. They buy countries. They don't, you know what I mean? It's a different hang.
So your humor.
That being said, Irsay is like the nicest, most down-to-earth guy in the world.
He's a good dude, man.
Yeah,
and he's got
sweetie.
all of these artifacts from the history of music that's ridiculous.
He also owns, I think he owns a version of the Magna Carta.
What?
Yeah. He owns like all this. And he also pulls in like amazing people. You're like, wait a minute, am I standing next to Rob Lowe and Stephen Stills or what? It's just like these
he knows all
musical legends.
Yeah, Ryan Leaf once brought in a letter that he had gotten from a fan that just said, hey, I've got this letter that I want to send you. And it was a letter that Hunter S. Thompson had written Jim Irsay telling him to draft Leaf over the Manning kid. Wow. And it was like an artifact that we then called up Jim Irsay and said, can you verify this? He goes, that absolutely happened. Like Hunter S. Thompson.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, so he is, I don't know how many other owners in the NFL have a Hunter S. Thompson letter telling him to draft Ryan Leaf over Peyton Manning.
Like
there it is right there. There it is. That's it right there. Dear James, in response to your addled request for a quick $30 million loan to secure the services of the Manning kid, I have to say no at this time. But the Leaf boy is another matter. He looks strong, and Manning doesn't, or at least not strong enough to handle that welcome to the NFL business for 2 years without a world-class offensive line. How are you fixed at left tackle for the next few years, James? Think about it. You don't want a China doll back there when that freak Sapp comes crashing in. Okay, let me know if you need money for Leaf. I expect to be very rich when this Depp movie comes out. There it is. Hunter HST.
Like that's I don't know the Marvel universe, but like that feels like different universe. Like, well, that Spider-Man's not supposed to be in this universe. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like I don't think. Wait a minute. It's like it might as well have been like Mark Twain kind of chiming in.
Yeah, we're going into the Irsay verse right
how
there.
to deal with a life after post Andrew Luck. You know what I mean? It's a weird take on it.
He's an interesting cat, Jim Irsay. Okay, so everybody can go to jimgaffigan.com for tickets and more tour dates. February, you're going to be in Chicago.
I'm going to be in Chicago. I'm excited. I grew up in that area. I grew up in Indiana, which is, most people in Chicago don't realize is right next door.
Yes.
Whenever I'm there, they're like, I'll be like, yeah, I'm from Northwest Indiana. And they're like, where's that? I'm like, 20 minutes away. 20 minutes away.
Right.
And like,
Gary, Indiana's right on the corner there, right?
Right there. Region rats.
Yeah.
You know, it's Rust Belt, which, if people don't know, that's kind of like the Bible Belt, but instead of religion, there was crushing unemployment. And it really churns out some optimism.
Comedy Monster available now on Netflix, at Jim Gaffigan on Twitter and Instagram. I follow him. You should too. Jim, this has been a pleasure, man.
Thanks so
Great
much
to
for
see
having
you
me.
in person. Thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
coming in here, man. Be well and safe on the road. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.